What's going on, YTBC? This is probably going to be the longest video I probably have ever done, but I promised this video was going to be coming about, performance enhancing drugs and the impact that it's made in sports culture. And, I can't just say in America, but worldwide. But who's really the blame here? We often hear that this athlete gets busted, that athlete gets busted. How could the athlete do this? How could this have gone unnoticed? And that second question gets glossed over. Well, I can tell you how it gets unnoticed. It gets unnoticed because of the big business of sports. All right? How many phases in sports have we seen? From gambling, remember in the NBA when gambling was a big issue, to throwing games. How many movies of the early 90s that we see and 80s where they focused? I remember, for me, one of my favorite films is The Program. All right. And the reason why The Program was such a near and dear experience for me is because, again, I played ball. I know what goes on. I know how big business is when it comes to driving professional sports or even collegiate sports. Okay? So who's really to blame? Is it the athletes? Because, yeah, you could say at the end of the day, nobody forces them to take it. But let me tell you something. If you've ever played sports and you've been in a competitive environment and you're being told that, listen, the difference between player A and player B, which is you, is if not the stats, not if you're charismatic enough, but if you win. And the way to win is to do whatever it takes at all costs. A lot of these young dudes coming in any professional sport is going to do what they need to do. All right? The will and the pressure to win is far greater than any pressure or search within oneself than anything that'll ever come about in a person's life. You understand me? If you're an athlete, you know what I'm talking about. The will to win, the pressure to win, and then it's even greater pressure to stay on top. We're really quick to condemn the athletes for why they take steroids, for why they would sully the sports tradition, right? But isn't the tradition of sports winning at all costs? Isn't the reason we compete is to see who's the best? And, we can get all nostalgic and say that, yeah, it's about working hard and it's about, dietary supplements. It's about your discipline. But we can't lose sight of big business works hand in hand with these pharmaceutical companies that create performance enhancing drugs, okay? Let's not even get it twisted. We can sit there and say all we want. What's the reason these chemists are coming up? Who's purchasing these performance enhancing drugs? It's all a vicious cycle. One hand washes the other hand. And who gets caught in the middle? The athlete. Because you can come to an athlete and you say, listen, the difference between you signing a $50 million contract or a $300,000 contract is in this little bottle with a syringe. Hey, man, it's not going to hurt. Hey, nobody will know about it. Hey, listen, man, you don't think your greatest idols did this? You don't think they cut corners? You don't think they did this, they done did that? And then the athlete starts thinking to himself, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. It's not going to hurt me that bad, right? Oh man, I got to get my mama out this neighborhood. I need to work hard. I need to do this. I need to do that. Shit, man, my hero is so and so and such and such. I look up to him. He's the guy who got me running routes late at night, reading playbooks over and over again, studying both the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, or your athlete or whoever your opponent is, working on your body positioning, how you hold your hips, what you do left and right. See, your hero, you want to not only get to your hero's level, but you want to surpass your hero because you want to cement your legacy. So maybe this little shot in my ass isn't going to hurt. Maybe these pills are not that bad. It's only college. Shoot, you don't think these athletes think about this every day? Now, yeah, are there clean athletes who have done it, become greats without cheating? Absolutely. And I'm not trying to sit there and say that there are more athletes that cheat than don't. But what I am saying is that we can't be so quick to condemn and cut the head off of these athletes who cheat, who get caught cheating, because we got to take it one step further. You can't just condemn the athlete. You got to condemn the system that allows them to cheat, because there is a grand system. And if you people don't think that, then you're naive as fuck. Naive as fuck. Listen, you can talk about how boosters in college, supply athletes with sneakers or cars or whatever have you, and they get cut down automatically, right? That's made a big deal. But I'm telling you now, there's even performance enhancing drugs, all right, in any sport, boxing. I mean, fuck, there's been even athletes in golf caught using performance enhancing drugs, okay? Tennis. Look at Marion Jones, bro. Broke my heart when Marion Jones got caught. All right? Did she deserve to get her medal stripped? Absolutely. Do these athletes deserve to be punished? Absolutely. But I'm going to give you an example, right? And this is going to make a lot of people pissed off. And I don't really give a fuck. You guys remember what happened a few years back, 2014, the scandal that surrounded LeBron James, right? Okay. LeBron James in 2013, 2014 was regarded as what? The premier player in the National Basketball Association. Okay? Who came to the defense and aid of LeBron James during that time of when he was being accused? The National Basketball Association. That whole entire story got swept under the rug. Why do you think that is? Now, I'm not accusing LeBron James. Let this be known on the record. I am not accusing LeBron James of taking performance-enhancing drugs. But I just want you to focus on how the big engine worked in that situation. I remember distinctly there were maybe 4, maybe 5 videos on YouTube talking about it. And there was maybe two cover stories on ESPN about it. After that, nothing. Why? Because when the big engine sees its cash cow in jeopardy, whole bunch of shit happens in the back office. And that's the same correlation I'm trying to get to a lot of you guys who understand and know, who played ball, who understand or played any sort of sport. And in my previous video about Anthony Joshua is or isn't he on PEDs, I said, if you don't think coaches, medical staff, assistant head coaches, school chapters don't know what's going on, boosters don't know what's going on, you're a damn fool. And if you think that, in boxing, when we are talking about, yes, it's life or death, right? If a fighter steps in the ring and he's on performance enhancing drugs, that, he could kill his opponent. Yes, you're right. He can kill his opponent. But isn't that the point of the sport? It's a savage, brutal sport We're all up in arms. You know, I know I'm the same way. If I'm watching a war, you know, if I'm watching Johnny Tapia fight Paulie Ayala, and I'm like sitting up there roaring because I want my boy Johnny Tapia to destroy and kill this dude, okay, and beat him, I'm not thinking about the moral consequences of Paulie Ayala dying. It's only after that match does it settle in. Man, that's fucked up. Look at Chris Eubank and Nick Blackwell. Tremendous fight, hellacious fight. But then after the fight, when the adrenaline calms down, okay, when we see the end result and we accept the brutality of the sport, is when we start to question, man, damn, man, that was fucked up, man. Yo, Nick could have died. But the point, what I'm trying to get to is when we talk about performance enhancing drugs in sports today, we need to not just punish the athletes, punish the system that allows it to go on. And trust me, the system allows it to go on. Ever ask yourself the question, why did the WBC introduce the Clean Fighters program? You don't think the WBC, the IBF, and all these other sanctioning bodies knew that some of their fighters were dirty? All right? Now listen, I don't want people to start coming on here with this is not about any particular fighter and who you like. This is a subject about performance enhancing drugs. This is just let's just keep it on PEDS. All right? A certain fighter puts it out there publicly that we should be a clean sport. All right? Whether you agree with whatever testing agency he used, that's neither here nor there. What I'm talking about is that he raised the awareness of a clean sport. Okay? You don't think that these sanctioning bodies and these guys, these corporate guys who looked at these fighters as investments, sat there and said, listen, we got to get ahead of this. So let's implement a program. We know we're going to catch a lot of guys in our stable. But you know what? It takes the pressure off us rather than us being caught by other testing agencies. Let's do it so that we can say, yeah, we're contributing to cleaning up the sport rather than what may be or may not be the truth, that we're actually, you know, turning a blind eye to a situation we already know that's going on. Come on, people. If we can accept that refs can be bought, judges can be bought, why can't we accept that the sanctioning bodies can be bought? Why can't we accept that the sanctioning bodies and these trainers and these training teams don't know what's going on? Boxing is a fraternity like any other sport. You don't think I know what's going on in my opposing team's locker room? People talk. It's a family, regardless of the fact whether you're on the opposing team or not. When you work for a conglomerate, that conglomerate, if you're on the inside, you know what's going on. See, the problem is, and the thing is, the unique thing about any sort of club or fraternity, there's that disclosure form that you sign. And whether you physically sign it or metaphorically sign it, when you're in it, you know that there is the creed. You don't talk about it. Now, people can sit and judge and say, well, listen, yo, Quest, you knew shit was going on, but you didn't say nothing. Well, you know what? Is that my fault? Yes, I'm a flawed person. I'm not a perfect person. I'll be the first to admit it. But when it comes to our anger, our frustration, we have to look at who the main causes are. Now, listen, I brought up LeBron James, right? And LeBron James isn't the only person, okay? Let's look at baseball, Rafael Palmeiro. Dude went to Congress, stood right there on national television and said he had no knowledge of using performance enhancing drugs, okay? Do you understand that has anybody ever taken in consideration that maybe Rafael Palmeiro was told he needed to say that? Maybe, you know, not absolving Rafael Palmeiro, but look at it from that perspective. Maybe the system in which he worked for, the system that had given him so much notoriety, had said, listen, if you go there and you admit this, if you talk about, listen, yeah, I was taking it, but my coaches knew, my fellow players knew. Do you guys even understand how you'll be ostracized? Do you guys know? Do some of you dudes who probably have never competed in sports don't understand that when you're in the fraternity and then you get kicked out of the fraternity, do you understand what happens to that individual that's kicked out? That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, I went a little longer on this than I wanted to. All I want is just sit there and say is, like I said in my Anthony Joshua video earlier, we need to establish an open dialogue about it. There have been a lot of players who I suspect are in basketball, football, baseball, soccer, who are on performance enhancing drugs, and you'll never hear about it. But I really want you to just take a moment and think about something here. There are 3 tiers of players in any sport. The guy who's made the example of, the guy who gets away with it, and then there's the guy who does the whistleblowing. Okay? And that's in any sport. And I'm going to be honest with you. If one person says something about you, then you can brush it off as it's just a rumor. If another guy says something, the very same thing about you, then you can say, well, you know what, they are in cahoots. But when it's 3, 4, 5, when people's signatures for certain packages are being delivered to other people's homes, look at Peyton Manning. Look at Peyton Manning. I want you guys to really think about that. Tell me that the big engine didn't work overtime for that story. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I'm just putting it out there. Start taking a look, not just at the players who are getting busted or being accused. Look at how the system reacts when these particular, remember I said they're tiered players, who these big conglomerates hinge all of their money on. Just, you don't think their fighters are like that? Wake up. That's all I'm asking people to do. I don't trust anybody in sports. And maybe that's because of my history with sports. I don't trust none of them. None of them. You know what I sit there and I say? I say, listen, yep, you're a dirty motherfucker. You a foul dude. You's a foul dude. You get caught doing it, you's a foul dude. You get caught, you're a foul dude. It's no different. I don't give a fuck who you were, who you are. You get tested, you get busted, accept your punishment, and you gotta just live with that. You gotta live with that scrutiny for the rest of your career. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Athletes today are no different than athletes of yesterday. The only thing that's different is that the big business behind them they've created even more pressure to stay on top. That's all I got. This is Quest X. Peace.